So, what are the best places to live in and around Phoenix, Arizona in 2023? We get that question all the time, and the answer isn't as simple as you might think. If you are thinking about making a move to the area, there are a lot of opinions out there and multiple websites that will help try to guide you in the right direction. But what I find is that a lot of those websites, opinions, and blogs are written from a perspective from somebody who does not live here. And there is a ton of info that either doesn't make sense or might be a little confusing. So today we're going to take a look at a list of best places to live here in the Phoenix area from a popular website that you guys might have seen before. And we're going to truly dig into it and break it down a little bit, give you some of the pros and cons of each area, and really dive into some details that you might not have ever seen in any of these type of best places videos before. And if you stick around to the end, there is no doubt that you're going to have a better understanding of what places might be the best fit for you. And even more importantly, you might find some places that you might want to avoid. So if you think that might be helpful to you, then stay tuned. All right, so let's go ahead and jump over to the computer here. I'm going to bring up niche.com and their best places to live here in the Phoenix area. And let's talk about what we're going to cover in this video. Number one, we're going to quickly go through this list. I'm going to share all the information they're giving you right away so you have a general idea on what they're talking about and what we're covering. We're not going to wait and do a countdown and show number one at the end. That's not the intention of this video. As you can see, Ahwatukee is listed as number one here. That's not the intention. Number two, we're going to explain some of the things that I'm seeing when I go through this list in an overall point of view and kind of see some trends, some things that I kind of see when I'm looking at this list and some things that might be confusing to somebody who doesn't live here. So we're going to look at that. Number three, we're going to go down the list and we're going to pick out a few areas that stand out to me and kind of give you an understanding on why they're ranked so high. I think that's important for you guys to know. It's going to be too long a video if I break down every single area, so that's not the point of this as well. I want to give you a general understanding of why areas rank high and give that as a little bit of information for you to take from. Number four, we're going to talk about a couple areas that are ranked a little bit lower on the list that are actually very popular around here right now. And we're going to talk about why they might not be ranked as high. So we're going to cover that as well. And then number five, we're going to talk through what you should expect when it comes to pricing and give you a tool that can actually give you more specific information if you're targeting certain areas. So I think that could be helpful for you as well. All right, so like I said, let's just quickly go through the list. I'm going to start with the top 20, and I am actually going to reference Phoenix here listed at number 21 because I think that's important for the conversation of this video. So let's just kind of go through. I'm just going to name these off. We got Mesa, Cave Creek, Anthem, Fountain Hills, Peoria, Encanto, Queen Creek, North Mountain, Deer Valley, North Gateway, Tempe, Camelback East, Litchfield Park, Paradise Valley Village, Desert View, Paradise Valley, The Town, Scottsdale, Gilbert, Chandler, and Ahwatukee Foothills. So a lot of these are going to be names that you've already heard or areas that you've already researched and kind of gone through. But I really want to break down why these are ranked the way they are and kind of shed some light on some confusion when you actually look at this. So now let's take that same list and bring it over to the map here. And I want to talk through some of the things I'm seeing that kind of stand out to me. So number one, again, let's look at all the list here. We've got all the cities in the East Valley, Gilbert, Chandler, Mesa, Queen Creek, Fountain Hills, Scottsdale. And then we've got this large contingent, as you kind of heard as we were going down through the list. The one thing that was interesting to me is all of these, Ahwatukee, Encanto, Camelback East, Paradise Valley Village, North Mountain, Desert View, these are all in Phoenix. So it had Phoenix ranked as number 21, but if you look at all the communities within Phoenix, and you can kind of go up to North Gateway, even into Anthem. Anthem is its own community, but is a part of Phoenix to a certain extent. To me, if you look at all the areas within Phoenix, you could almost rank Phoenix as number one as a whole, but they kind of break it down into different neighborhoods. Everything else city-wise is you got Scottsdale. Scottsdale's huge, so there's a lot of areas that you could kind of rank differently within Scottsdale. Same thing with Mesa, Chandler, Gilbert, that type of thing. So it's interesting to me that they have Phoenix ranked at number 21 when they have so many communities within Phoenix ranked higher. The second thing I notice when I look at this is just kind of going and looking at all the A's that pop up on the map. They are highlighting the majority of the East Valley. There's a big debate that always goes on as far as what's a better place to live between the East Valley and the West Valley. And there are a lot of up and coming communities in the West Valley that are very popular and have a lot of great things to offer. You can see a lot of stuff here in Peoria around Vistancia, Litchfield Park. Surprise has a lot of cool things that are coming up, but overall, the East Valley gets graded a little bit higher and usually has a little bit higher popularity when people are coming to move here. And then all you have to do is click over and look at the cities and areas that are rated between 26 and 50. You start to see some other areas pop up here in the West Valley. The West Valley has a lot of the B ratings, some C ratings, that type of thing. You do see a couple areas that have some ratings: Santan Valley, Apache Junction, Gold Canyon, Florence, or areas in Pinell County that get rated a little bit lower. Not rated super low, but definitely lower than the top rankings of what you see in the East Valley and some of the more popular areas. Now, some of you might be out there and you're looking at the A list versus the B list, and you might find yourself in a situation where you're like, hey, look, I don't even want to worry about the Bs. Just focus on the A list here. Let's try to figure out what makes sense for me and my family, that type of thing. I get that there is some fairness to how these are being rated, but I want to kind of dive into how they're rating them so it does make sense for you, and so that you don't maybe overlook a community that might get a lower rating but still might make more sense for you. So let's just go back to Ahwatukee here, which is ranked number 1. And again, Ahwatukee is a neighborhood within the city of Phoenix. So Ahwatukee isn't its own city or town. It is a neighborhood in Phoenix, but let's see how and why they ranked it the way they did. If you go in and you look at the overall niche grade, they give it an A+. You've got A on public schools, B+ on housing, A on good for families, B- on nightlife, A on diversity. They also have a little bit of info on crime and safety. So for those of you who like to really focus on a lot of those stats, niche is a good place to potentially come in and take a look at that. I will potentially caution you on looking at some of these stats, because a lot of the stats that these websites kind of pull seems to be either a little bit outdated or maybe doesn't make sense. When I look at the median home value here in Ahwatukee, I think this is probably low. I don't imagine that the median home value in Ahwatukee is at under 400 right now. I'll show you a different website that you can use that can give you a little bit more accurate guidance on what that is. So some of this stuff might not be super accurate. Same thing probably on the rental side and that type of thing. But it is going to give you, information regarding the entire map. It's going to talk about where it's ranked in other areas, where they've got it ranked as one of the best neighborhoods to raise a family and one of the best neighborhoods to buy a house. Again, here's that crime and safety information, and talks about the median household income and that type of thing. And some of these are going to make sense as far as, what people are making in Ahwatukee and that type of thing, why the home prices are what they are. So again, I'm not going to go through these details on every single area, because you can go look this up on your own, but I want to give you an understanding on why areas are ranked the way they are. The other great thing that I like about this part of breaking down into these neighborhoods is you can kind of go in and look at the top public schools that serve the area. So I think that's super helpful if you do have a family, if you have kids and you're trying to search areas and specifically schools that might fit your children's needs. I think this is a great fit for that. So this is a great resource. Places like Ahwatukee, you can kind of compare some stuff, and then you can get reviews from people who've actually gone on and said, hey, this is why I like living in Ahwatukee, because that's huge. I think talking to your neighbors when you're trying to figure out what places and areas to live is super important. I can give you as much information as I can, but talking to the neighbors or seeing reviews online is super helpful when you're trying to make a decision. So again, if we go back to the list and we start again scrolling down and we're looking at the top areas, I think, this is a huge factor when you're talking about public schools, and everybody makes a decision on that. Even people who don't have kids, a lot of people call us up and they're like, hey, look, I might not have kids, but I do like to purchase a home in an area that might be more family friendly because of the potential resale value involved if they were ever to go sell the property. So a lot of people make that decision whether or not they have kids. So all of these areas tend to be rated pretty high when it comes to public schools within the Phoenix area. And that's why I think they overall end up getting that bump into that A rating. As we go through this list, I always like to encourage you guys to reach out to us and leave a comment down below. Number one, where are you moving from? If you're watching this, always love to hear that. Number two, is there any particular place here in the Phoenix area that you're targeting or want to know more about? And number three, what are the most important things for you when looking for that next neighborhood? Let us know down in the comments below. So now that we've gone through that, let's kind of dive into a few of the areas and give you a few more details on why people end up targeting them. And I'm going to group a few of these together because I think a lot of them have a lot of similarities. And if you're looking at one, you're probably going to look at a couple others as well at the same time. So, obviously one of the main areas that seems to be very popular is the Southeast Valley. And we're going to talk about Chandler, Gilbert, and Queen Creek kind of all together here because, again, there's a lot of similarities. Chandler is ranked at number 2 on the list. Gilbert's ranked at number 3. Queen Creek's ranked at number 14. But I think a lot of the reason why people tend to target the area, number one, because they're always popular and always ranked highly when it comes to the public schools. So that's a huge thing. A lot of attractions when it comes for families and that type of thing when it comes to lots of parks in the area, things to do with kids, and just overall curb appeal of the area. It just has like a nice feel. There's a lot of newer homes that have been built up, especially on the south side of the 202 here. All of the south side of the 202 has been building up over the past 10 to 20 years. And so you're going to see a lot of newer communities that have built up. And then even kind of going into north of the 202 between the 60 and the 101 on this side and the 202 on this side, there's just a lot of really good entertainment districts. There's popular shopping, dining, that type of thing. So anything that you could need in the East Valley is all there. It is definitely growing in population and the traffic is definitely growing. But, when people come and drive through, there just seems to be a lot of appeal. Now, for those that like Chandler and Gilbert, but don't mind being a little bit further out, that's where Queen Creek does come into play. It is going to be something that's a little bit more remote. The traffic is getting pretty crazy down in that area, but there are a lot of things to like about it from, again, the situation when it comes to schools, things to do for kids, parks, stuff for families and that type of thing. And then it has grown when it comes to a lot of the shopping and dining destinations as well. Now, I will mention this. One of the biggest comments we get when people are flying in here and trying to take a tour of some of these areas and cities, most people have no idea how large and expansive these areas are. It doesn't seem that big on a map. It seems like something you can probably look at within a day or two. That is tricky to do. And so one of the things we've been working on lately is come up with a neighborhood drive tour. We've set this up for Chandler and Gilbert and Scottsdale already, and we're going to be working on every single city in the East Valley. But these are going to give you kind of a drive tour to kind of help take you through some of the areas and kind of show you all the different styles that you might find within a certain area. So for example, here in Chandler, you got Warner Ranch, the Stellar Air Park Estates, Springs, Ocotillo, Fulton Ranch, that type of thing. So if you're interested in getting on one of these drive tours or getting access to it, let us know so we can kind of talk through that with you, because I think it's really helpful to understand this before you come and make a trip down. Another quick reminder for you guys, we have people reaching out to us every day who are looking to make the move to the Phoenix area. We absolutely love it. So if you're looking to make that move, make sure to reach out to us. We'll leave our contact info on screen as usual. Love to hear from you. All right, the next areas I want to kind of talk through with you guys that have some similarities and are highly ranked as well are Tempe and Mesa. Tempe is ranked number 10 on the list. Mesa is ranked number 20. But both of them have areas that tend to be a little bit more popular, seem to be a little bit better suited for people that are looking for homes, and some other areas that might be not as desirable. And I'll take you through what I mean when it comes to that. Right around here, as far as Tempe goes, is ASU. My office is sitting right here off the 202, right on Tempe Town Lake. It's a fantastic area. I love it. I love having my office here and being centrally located right next to Phoenix and the airport and that type of thing. It can get me anywhere. There's a lot of positives when it comes to the location-wise and being so centrally located. But if you look at all the homes in here for sale, it's going to be very much older homes that are a little bit more expensive and more geared towards the people that actually go to ASU, a lot of college students, a lot of people who want to be close to campus. it's rare that I find somebody who's moving in from out of state who's like, hey, I want to be in Tempe, kind of near campus. That doesn't seem to happen very often. There are some areas on the south side of Tempe that have a very similar look and feel to what you might find in Chandler. It definitely tends to be a little bit older, but it does have a lot of positives when it comes to being close to parks, centrally located, that type of thing. Same thing with, being similar or close to Abatuki. So this south side of Tempe makes a little bit more sense when it comes to the grading. When we're talking about Mesa, there's some fantastic neighborhoods in Mesa that are especially on the north side, kind of up against the 202. Los Sendas is a really popular neighborhood, an area that I really like a lot. There's also the area kind of in the zip code of 85203 that has all the old citrus groves and that type of thing. So there's some really, really cool green neighborhoods, a lot of trees, a lot of grass, a lot of appeal when it comes to the curb appeal, that type of thing. And then you kind of get into some of these areas, I would say on when you're looking at like University to like the 60 freeway, that definitely lack a little bit of appeal when it comes to the neighborhoods, and seems to be a little bit older, seems to be geared towards like trailer parks and that type of thing. So Mesa can be a little bit of a mixed bag. You also have all this area down on the southeast side of Mesa that kind of gets into Eastmark and that type of thing. So a lot of the reason why my Mesa gets that A rating might be because of some of the newer communities like Eastmark and that type of thing. So, but be wary of that when you're taking a look. All right, now let's focus on the west side a little bit, because there is a lot to like on the East Valley, but we do want to touch on some of the areas in the West Valley that have been up and coming, have been growing, and there is a ton of growth of what's going on over in the West Valley. So I do want to touch on that. So let's talk about Peoria, Litchfield Park, and even talk about Goodyear down here. Peoria is ranked number 16 on the list. Litchfield Park is ranked at number 8. That is actually kind of a surprise to me. And Goodyear is ranked at number 22. So there's a couple commonalities that I want to talk about when we're looking at these areas. Number one, they're going to be a little bit further out from like the centrally located areas around Phoenix, Scottsdale, that type of thing. So for people that need to be centrally located, whether that's a work position, whether that is wanting to get into some of the popular entertainment districts, that type of thing. If you are one of those type of people that want to get into those very often, then maybe being on some of these outskirt communities does not make a lot of sense. This part of Peoria up here is Vistancia. It is an absolutely beautiful community, and definitely an area that I have taken several of our clients to kind of take a look at. There's a lot to like up in this Northwest Valley and what's going on. You're also hitting in Surprise too. There's a lot of new growth. There's brand new homes. You can find some affordable pricing when it comes to brand new homes up in this area, that type of thing too. And the views are incredible. Plus all the growth of the 303. I think the 303 growth has been a huge factor in people making the decision to buy up in the area because of all of the companies that are coming in. You've got the Taiwan Semiconductor plant that's made the news many times. It's kind of sitting up here right at the top of the 303 as well. So there's a lot of growth going on. Definitely an area that you should kind of focus on. Litchfield Park is a community that is maybe kind of off the beaten path to a lot of people. I think a lot of people don't even realize it, kind of don't even look at it that much. I have not had a chance to drive that area. I need to do a video just on Litchfield Park in general because I think there are a lot of cool things about it. It is just south of Luke Air Force Base, so you're going to have some Luke Air Force traffic as far as plane traffic overhead, that type of thing. But there's just kind of a cool little feel to it, and there are some nice things regarding being close access to the I-10 here to get anywhere you need to be. So I think Litchfield is kind of a hidden gem that people maybe need to keep an eye on a little bit more often. And then down to Goodyear here. Goodyear is always popular because of Estrella Mountain Ranch. Estrella Mountain Ranch is kind of a hike to get out to, but once you make this drive down Estrella Parkway and kind of get in here, this community has a lot of cool features that has been popular over the past 10 to 20 years. And so that's why Estrella Mountain Ranch tends to rank or puts Goodyear on the map when it comes to some of these rankings. And then let's just talk about Phoenix. I think Phoenix tends to not be searched as much when people are coming to move here. People, want to try to figure out what the best areas are. Phoenix is kind of hit or miss in a lot of spots. So it's tricky for people that are moving here to kind of understand where the best places are and neighborhoods to live. Obviously, when you're going through, you see Ahwatukee, you see Encanto, Camelback East. Paradise Valley Village is kind of a mix between Phoenix and Scottsdale, depending on the zip code you're in. Desert View, Deer Valley, North Gateway, all these places are very popular when it comes to living in Phoenix, and for very good reason. I am currently living in the Camelback East neighborhood and kind of the lower part of Arcadia, and I absolutely love it. I've lived in every single city in the East Valley. Now I'm up in Phoenix, and I think it's fantastic. It's an area that I truly love to live in, and it's great. But it has gotten extremely expensive over the past several years, and so a lot of times when people are looking at price points and they're trying to figure out what the best place is for them, you might be in a situation where you're priced out of some of these homes because we're in a 50s home that's been remodeled, still a brick house, definitely not what you're going to see when you're looking at some of the newer builds like in Chandler, Gilbert, and Peoria, that type of thing. And it is at a high price point for the location and the neighborhood and that type of thing. So a lot of people might overlook Phoenix because of that, but there are so many positives in my mind when it comes to it. The one thing that you are going to see in Phoenix, and that is in all these areas, is that you could be a half mile to a mile from one of the most desirable neighborhoods. And then you're going to go down the street and you're going to be in an area that maybe looks a little bit questionable or something that you don't necessarily think is like the greatest place to live, that type of thing. So you're always going to be within a half mile to something that maybe doesn't look like it should, versus like if you pick an area like Scottsdale or Chandler or Gilbert, it seems like if you go from, border to border, you're going to be in nice areas. So that's something you have to consider when taking a look at Phoenix. But again, we're here to guide you when it comes to trying to figure out what is right for you. And then before we give you guys the information regarding what's going on with the housing market and some of the pricing info, I do want to share a few areas that might be ranked a little bit lower and why you might want to keep an eye on these as well. Specifically, Surprise, we talked about that a little bit when we hit Peoria and talked about Peoria. I do really like a lot of what's going on along the 303, and there's just some areas that I think have a lot of appeal when looking at Surprise. Not the entire area, but there's definitely some cool little pocket neighborhoods that I really like. Same thing with Buckeye here. Buckeye in general, I'm not a huge fan of unless you're talking about Verrado. And Verrado here in Buckeye is an awesome master plan community. And if you're looking out in the West Valley and you want to be close to the I-10 in a beautiful community and neighborhood, definitely check out Verrado. Keep that on your list of places to potentially keep an eye on. And then, Gold Canyon, I don't do a ton of business out in Gold Canyon here, but anytime I'm out there, it's beautiful. If you want to go to an area that just has amazing views and potentially like second home retirement type community. So I don't know if it makes sense for people with families and kids and that type of thing. But if you're looking for an area that is remote, that has amazing views and might be good for a second home or might be a good retirement area, I think Gold Canyon is fantastic. So keep an eye on that as well. And then for those of you who are, super happy to learn what the best places are to live, but you're like, hey, look, what actually fits into my budget? What is something that's going to be the best place for me that I can afford? That is why we have our housing market kind of guide and update. If you go to the website, livinginphoenixaz.com, you can kind of see some of the reports that we have. This is Maricopa County here. I know I'm covering it up right now, but you can kind of go in, you can see a general idea of what the entire county looks like in the Phoenix metro area. And then you can kind of go in city by city if you're targeting certain areas, and you can really start to kind of understand what the median list price is, what's kind of going on with the average days on market. And really what's truly important to me is the inventory levels right now, because that's what's driving the housing market. So you can kind of go in and kind of take a look. We've got Phoenix, Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Gilbert, Chandler, Mesa, Glendale, Peoria. And then if you want to kind of go on and look, you can really dive into this and go by zip code as well. I'm bringing up 85048 because that is Ahwatukee. Again, the number one neighborhood that hit the list. If you want to kind of understand what's going on in Ahwatukee, look at this. This is the median list price right now is $694 for a single family home in Ahwatukee. Way different than what niche.com has the median home price at. So you can really kind of start getting a good feel and a good idea and try to understand what makes sense for you financially. And again, start taking a look at what's going on with inventory, because that's going to show you whether or not the housing market might give you an opportunity to look at something that could give you a potential deal. If the inventory is going up, or if inventory is going down, you might have some more competition. So this is super helpful. I'll have a link below so you guys can click on this and have access to it. This can hopefully be a good tool for you to learn what's going on here in the market. All right, after going down that list, is there an area that you might think is the right fit for you? Is there an area that you might want to avoid? Are you sure yet? That's what we're here to help guide you guys on. That's what we're here for. Make sure to reach out to us. We'll leave our contact info down below. We have people reaching out to us every day to kind of go through all these questions. We absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about making the move to area and you really want to know what area is the best place for you, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, however you want to get a hold of us. We got your back. And until the next video, we'll catch you later.